Trump administration touts Iran deal as a payday for U.S. farmers, but Iran denies it. Add AP News as your preferred source to see more of our stories on Google. Add AP News on Google. Add AP News as your preferred source to see more of our stories on Google. Share Washington at U.S. President Donald Trump and Vice President J.D. Vance say their interim deal to end the war with Iran will deliver a financial windfall to American farmers. But the Iranians deny it, and in the absence of more details, sanctions experts are flummoxed over exactly how billions of dollars worth of Iranian assets would make their way to the American heartland from the escrow accounts where they've been locked for years by U.S. sanctions. A tentative agreement reached last week would reopen the Strait of Hormuz, through which a fifth of the world's oil and natural gas once passed, and allow Iran to start selling its oil freely again during a 60-day period when the two countries will continue negotiating key issues. The memorandum of understanding also promised to unfreeze Iranian assets. Trump's deal has come under fire for failing to address the reasons the president cited for going to war with Iran on Feb. 28, including curbing Tehran's nuclear ambitions, its missile program, and its support from militant groups such as Hezbollah in Lebanon and Hamas in Gaza. Lashing back at critics Tuesday on his Truth social media platform, Trump said U.S. farmers would get a payday. The U.S. Treasury Department, he wrote, would release the Iranian assets into escrow, controlled by the USA, and will be used for the purchase of food and medical supplies exclusively from the United States, including corn, wheat, and soybeans from our great American farmers. These are things that are desperately needed by Iran. Vance, who spoke about the proposal after high-level talks in Switzerland, and Trump say that any frozen funds and assets held outside of Iran will be used to buy U.S. crops. Read more, but the Iranians deny that's part of the deal. A spokesperson for the Iranian Foreign Ministry, Esmail Baghi, said any agricultural purchases would be based on prices and quality, not terms dictated by Washington. It is interesting that the philosophy and goal of the war, which was the destruction of the Iranian civilization and the collapse of Iran, has become enriching American farmers, Baghi said. Sign up for Morning Wire. Our flagship newsletter breaks down the biggest headlines of the day. Email address: sign up by checking this box. You agree to AP's terms of use and acknowledge that AP may collect and use your data pursuant to our privacy policy. Iran's ambassador in Geneva, Ali Bahraini, rejected Vance's contention that the U.S. and Qatar would dictate how Iran uses unfrozen funds. Iran is the only country who decides what to do with those assets, he told reporters. A U.S. official dismissed the contradiction, asserting that Iranian leaders were speaking to their domestic audience. The official spoke on condition of anonymity because they were not authorized to speak on the record. Joseph Glauber, a research fellow emeritus at the International Food Policy Research Institute, said Iran was unlikely to abandon its other trade partners on food. Iran's major suppliers include Brazil, India, Turkey, the European Union, Canada, Australia, and Argentina, he said. Trump's demand to buy from the U.S. would create some hard feelings with some of our competitors. Under previous sanctions, the U.S. has required that money foreign countries spend on imports from Iran, such as South Korean purchases of oil and Iraqi purchases of Iranian electricity, be locked in escrow accounts and typically released only if the Treasury approves and if the proceeds go toward non-sanctionable items such as food and medicine. On Monday, the U.S. Treasury approved the sale of Iranian oil, petrochemicals, and petroleum products through Org. 21. It did not mention any escrow accounts. Richard Goldberg of the Foundation for Defense of Democracies, who coordinated efforts to put diplomatic pressure on Iran in the first Trump administration, said in a post on X that he would welcome a clarification that Iran is actually restricted to only buying U.S. agricultural products.